Hi, my name is Paul Pajo. I'm the developer evangelist for Smart and also the co-founder of the developer community for Smart DevNet or Smart Developer Network, and I'm also a startup evangelist for Idea Space. Product development for startups. So normally when we talk about product dev for startups, we use Lean Startup, that philosophy by Eric Rice, and we've been also championing the last a few months also what they call LSM, Lean Startup Machine. Was able to attend Scott Bale's workshop, and basically the main difference is in Lean Startup, they want you as a startup to create a minimum viable product and be able to iterate through the process, meaning you get to test your product in the market and then see if the product actually fits the market. The issue with that is building a product is actually very expensive. Although at this point in time, compared to many years before when it takes you millions of dollars or even pesos to create a product to test, this time it's a lot cheaper. But to further increase the possibility of a startup being able to succeed more, Trevor Banks, I think, of LSM espouses the idea of having a minimum viable experiment. In other words, you try to create your experiments, your hypothesis regarding what kind of product you think will provide a solution to your particular customer, and then iterate through several customer validations until you find the solution for the customer that you want to solve a problem for. Okay, so we talk about things like finding the customer persona. So for example, what kind of customers do you want to solve problems for? So one of the tenets of Lean Startup is ask yourself if the problem actually exists, because one of the most dangerous, or what do you call this, biggest problems in creating a product is you create a product and then you find out that the problem that the product is supposed to be solving actually doesn't exist. So you find out this is what we call the riskiest assumption. So we look at different risks involved. For example, does the customer actually exist? Does the problem actually exist? So you go down the list of assumptions that you have. The more assumptions you can test, the better. But the biggest assumption you should test is, does the problem actually exist? Okay. So when you identified a particular customer, okay, now you now try to understand through non-leading customer questions what are the problems they are trying to solve, meaning what is their goal. So the process is, you have a customer, normally they want to do something. So let's say, oh, I want to take videos while I'm moving. So we now know the solution for that is let's say a GoPro camera. But before the GoPro camera existed, that was the problem, right? How do you, as a customer, be able to take pictures or videos while you're moving? So that's the goal, right? So, and then you find out in their goal is what are the pain points. So without a GoPro, so imagine maybe you have a small camera, it runs out of battery, or you have a big camera but you can't strap it, or maybe you have a friend on the beach taking a telescopic video of you. So you have all these behaviors, right, trying to solve a problem because it's a pain point for the customer. So those are the 4 things you actually need to understand in a lean startup. What customer you're trying to serve, what is their goal, what's the pain point to achieve this goal, and then what is their behavior. So in that example, their behavior is either they use a small camera, a phone camera, or they use a big camera but they have no way to mount it, or if they mount it, it's flimsy, or they shoot it from the shore. All these things are proposed solution by the customer. So basically, for a startup, you basically have to create a product that's better than whatever they're doing. So if your product is worse than the behavior that the customer is exhibiting, then it's probably not worth the time for you to invest in creating that solution. But if you think that solution is better than whatever behavior they're doing to solve their problem so that they can remove the pain point, this is what you actually iterate. Once you propose a solution and you know that there's actually a problem, you go back to your customers and ask them if this is something that will actually solve their problem. Okay, so this is the first. So now you have what you call a problem a solution fit, and normally now you create an MVP. But if you can, through an MVE, a minimum viable experiment, get a commitment from the customer, whether it's an email, maybe even get paid, a phone number, some time to meet with them, then you actually create what we call a social currency. The more you do that, the more traction you have, the more you understand there's actually a market. If there's no traction, and then there's no market. So Mark Andreessen is very famous with this quote that at the end, whether it's a poor market or a great market or a good market, the market wins. So you can have a great or a smart team creating an awesome product. If there's no market for your startup, it doesn't matter. You still lose, right? Because the market always wins. So this iterative validation of the solution that you're proposing and gathering or curating customers who actually like the idea or the solution is what we now call a product market fit. So what we say is you pivot, you continually tinker, you continually adjust your idea until you have the best product that you think will fit the market. So as you're doing this, you notice you're actually increasing the number of people actually embracing your product. Your email database should be increasing, the number of phone numbers should be increasing, the number of appointments on your calendar should be increasing. In fact, if they're willing to pay for you for a beta, should be increasing. You now have a market. So now you now have what we call a product and market fit. So you continue to iterate and pivot this until you say this is the actual product. You freeze it there, you create an MVP, and now you have what we call is after product market fit. Then you optimize your product after. So we say pivot before product market fit, but optimize after product market fit. So that in essence is a lean startup in less than 10 minutes, I think. So let's talk about creating your mission and vision statement for your startup. So basically, the mission statement is what you want to accomplish, and then the mission statement is how you want to do it. So the easiest way to do it is to find out what is the winning idea for your startup, okay, and what makes you what you call your unfair advantage of your startup, and then find out measures, not a lot, just a few, of how you're going to accomplish this. So let's say we're company XYZ, and the reason people should come to us is because we're the only ones who have this technology. So you mentioned that XYZ has this cutting-edge technology, which we plan to measure by, let's say, number of customer sign-ups or number of customers served. So if you can compress that in one statement, then that's your mission statement. So for example, I think for Starbucks, it's our mission is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. So basically, that's their mission statement. So in other words, their product is what they call maybe serving coffee by having a place where people can gather. But the metric there is one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. Okay. Now, from that mission statement, you can extract now your vision statement. So basically, a mission statement is for internal customers. That's mainly for your organization. But if you want to tell people, okay, what are the values that your company actually have that will actually allow you to accomplish your mission. Okay, so I think for Reebok, for example, they say, as a brand, Reebok has a unique opportunity to help consumers, athletes, and artists, partners, and employees fulfill their true potential and reach heights that they may have thought unreachable. So in other words, their value is believing in people, and this is how they will accomplish their mission statement. So those are the two things. So for mission, find out what's your winning idea, what makes you the reason people will actually get your product other than the competitors, and then combine it with 3 metrics that you plan to use as a measure of how you know you're reaching the goal. And then from that mission statement, extract from that what are the values that are important to us as an organization, and you say, this is how we will accomplish our mission. That will be your vision statement. So that in a nutshell is the shortcut on how to extract or create your mission and vision statement. Just for studies, for example, the first assumption we had was the riskiest assumption is that does the problem actually exist? Okay, so that's the first thing you test, but you can actually test more assumptions so that you can actually have a more awesome product. So for example, the first one is the customer hypothesis actually right? In other words, if you say this is the customer that I want to serve, then you test your assumptions, and then it turns out it's the wrong customer, then what you need to do is you need to pivot your customer hypothesis. You need to pivot your customer persona. And when we say pivoting, you only want to change one variable at a time, because otherwise, if you change more than one, then you don't know actually why certain changes actually affect your outcome. So you won't be able to control for variables if you actually change more than one. Okay, and then also remember when we talk about pain points, so customer has pain points. Sometimes we make assumptions on what are probably their pain points. The question is that actually a pain point for the customer? So we need to actually talk to the customers. So it's better if we talk to the customers and ask them and talk to them, because as you talk to them, the pain points will actually surface from the conversations, rather than you assuming that because you imagine that is their pain point, and then you just go forward and create a product based on that. For example, one of the startups we have was they assumed that people don't like lotteries anymore. When they did a survey, it turns out people actually want what they call this. They actually want to join contest. Okay, and they did it. They validated this 1,200 times. It turns out people actually want to join contests. Not exactly lotteries contest, but the pain point was they didn't know where this contest was. So talking to customers allows them to create a better product. So now they have a better product, which is, I think, basically giving information to people what are these contests and where you can actually find this contest. Okay, and then the last one is remember, we're trying to create a better behavior from the existing behavior. So that's already a clue for you that, number one, there's an existing solution for that. So maybe your solution is related to that. Now here's the thing. Normally, when people volunteer information on how to fix things, that might not be exactly the solution that you need to create for them. So Henry Ford was famous in saying, if I listen to my customer how to solve the problem of transportation, I would have given them faster horses. So of course, when you're talking to the customer, say, oh, we want to go faster, we hope this horse goes faster, right? But actually the solution for him was to create a machine that was actually faster than a horse. So the same, I think Elon Musk for the Tesla, they said we want to create a nicer car. So everyone assumed it was going to have a combustion engine, but it turns out you can actually create an electric car that's nicer looking, more expensive looking than a combustion engine car. So sometimes just listening to the customer and trying to see what behavior they're trying to fix, the clue is there, but it's not exactly what your customer tells you. You actually have to read between the lines and listen between the conversations.